Welcome, folks, to the second episode of the Prog Council. Joining us this evening, we have the one and only Paul Zotter of the Progressive Palaver podcast. Hey, Paul, welcome aboard.
Hello.
Glad to have you this time.
Yes.
We have guests with us here tonight, Diana Studenberg of Trope and her partner, Moonhead, a.k.a. Dave Thompson of Trope. They are here to join us. Dave is from the other side of the planet right about now, so that's very cool. Welcome aboard, guys. Thank you for joining the Prog Council.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
And a quick
Moonhead
shout out
is-
to our friend and general co-host, panelist, Jordan Blum, who ends up himself having to miss today due to other obligations that got in the way. Maybe he'll join us late. Maybe he won't. We'll see how it goes.
We'll get it
welcome
together
aboard,
sometime.
folks. What's that?
I said we'll get it together sometime. Moonhead is actually tuning in from tomorrow, as I understand it.
Oh, that's nice. We're getting a broadcast from the future.
We
Yeah.
really are.
Excellent.
Don't come. It's not that good.
Well, I've noticed the trajectory really in recent years, so yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not
seriously.
surprised to hear that. Anyway, all right, tonight, folks, what we are going to be talking about is gatekeeping among the Prog community. Gatekeepers Anonymous, I think Paul has wanted to call us, or Gatekeeping Anonymous. The idea that the fans oftentimes are, I guess we'll say, resistive, a little trepidatious, a little reluctant to let others within their little fenced area of progressive rock, or to want to be attaching qualifiers and various criteria, and rather than expanding the idea of progressive rock and allowing it to progress, perhaps limiting who can play in the playground. And of course, I think folks from Trope, you guys are a wonderful pair to talk about this particular topic, not because I know if you've gotten any of those slings and arrows, but also because you're doing your own thing. You guys are creating your own version of Prog out there, and that's very cool as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
The irony in the name too of like people being anti the progression of progressive rock. But anyways.
Yes, people wanting to enforce the old tropes, right? Oh, he did that.
Oh,
Which
What?
do they even exist really? Like, yeah, it's so odd. Because there's so many strains of progressive rock within progressive rock in a sense.
Indeed.
And
Yeah.
bleed into other genres, you know.
I
for
think
some.
they should. I think good for them. You know, I think more boundaries that are put up in the world is better. You know, the more limitations we have, the happier we are. I think it's
Only
to
if
be
you're
honest,
stupid.
To be honest, I really understand the passion behind it of ownership. You know, when you're like, you know what, this is the thing. This is and people love being a tastemaker and they want to be opinionated and experts in their thing. And some people have that expertise and, you know, have developed an opinion based upon time in with the thing. So I go, you know, that makes a lot of sense. Now, when you're on the receiving end of it, you know, as an act in a band and you're being marginalized for whatever reason or not being invited to the party, then it's not fun. So if it's happening to someone else, you're like, nah, it's all good. You know, like most things.
I don't feel that way.
No, you don't, because she's way nicer than I am.
It's not about being nice. It's just an inclusive mindset.
Yeah, you're more inclusive than me.
All right.
No, it's like my own Schadenfreude. You know, it's like no. I mean, with the you say things, Donna.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Okay, yeah. So, fuck. Sorry. What were you just saying again about? About not being invited. Yeah, I mean, we have felt that in some ways. The irony being that sometimes people think that even the first album, Eleuthermania, obviously Dyad, our upcoming album, is a double album, and side A, for those who've listened to the preview before it's not out yet, but listen to the preview, they see that side A of Dyad is very progressive. Like the songs are longer, no choruses necessarily in some songs, continuing on the last album, lots of time signature changes. motif changes, some key changes. There's a lot of shit going on. So it is truly very progressive, and you can't even argue that if you wanted to. But our first album, Eleutheromania, some people argued that because there were more songs ranging in the 3 to 4 minute mark, that, oh, it wasn't progressive. But what they weren't hearing, because for whatever reason, were all the time signature changes that were happening within a lot of those songs, that I think is a key element of a progressive sound. You know,
You're right.
and even some of the you know, the people that we tour with or whatever, like a lot of people in the prog world would agree that time signature changes is a key ingredient to progressive music. So the fact that our music, because of the way that because of the way that Moonhead writes all the stuff, and he writes progressive music in a very groove-based approach, not mathematically, not in a start, stop, jump, you know, like some jazz or whatever, or some other prog acts. Not everyone could tell that all those time signatures were happening because he buries them in groove, which is I think very sophisticated from his standpoint. And so we've gotten a little bit of that marginalization of, well, you're not really prog, and it's like, bitch, count.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, if I can add to that, I mean,
Yeah.
a perfect example, we had a bass player, you know, he listened to Pareidolia and he's like, yeah, I can play that, no problem. And then he came back and was like, whoa, like 1 bar 5, 1 bar 6, 5, and it alternates, you know, constantly. It's funny because I just saw an Instagram reel 2 days ago with Simon Phillips talking about how when he's he's doing things that are doing a groove, he loves to make sure that you can't tell where the one is, in the sense of just keeps on the groove keeps on going on. So it's not something unique to me at all. It's something that once you feel, I always thought that music should be hypnotic, and I don't want anything to shock me out of the hypnosis of whatever that thing is, whatever the vibe is trying to happen, until I want you to change your vibe by slowing something down or changing that thing. It's like filmmaking. If you're watching a scene and you're sitting in the scene, and all of a sudden something else came in. Now that is a technique for filmmaking or for music as well. The shock of something. I mean, perfect example, maybe something like Running Up That Hill with Kate Bush. That chorus comes out of nowhere on the, you know, 2 little pre's on it, and the chorus comes out. Then 3 little pre's and the chorus comes out. You know, it's however you want to present your work.
Yeah.
But I've never sat down and said, oh, I want to be smart about this. I want to write an 11/8 because I think that's smart. It's really just, you know, things start with just tapping and just do good digada, do good digada, do good digada, do digada, you know, or something. I hear a riff that just wants to live in 7. A perfect example of that would be Money by Pink Floyd. It just wants to live in 7. You know, Salisbury Hill by Peter Gabriel wants to live in 7. Yeah. You know?
I was going to say, you know, we're onto something here, particularly, and Diana, you said sophisticated, and I agree, right? Like, Salisbury Hill is exactly what came to mind, because I mean, they're playing that on the radio, and money too, and you're like, wait a second, is that in 7? Like, you know, I think I knew that song and was singing along for years before one day I actually stopped and realized, whoa. But there is that. And I think some of the greatest prog bands have been vilified for shortening, you know, having short songs. And we talk about, you know, frequently on Progressive Palaver, particularly in the 80s. But bands like Rush, you know, were, I think, heavily criticized inappropriately for some things on Power Windows and Hold Your Fire. But I think those are some of the prog bands or songs that they've had. It's just that they're very sophisticatedly put together in small packages. Yeah. But that kind of gets to the dichotomy of the prog fan and perhaps the prog management of the business, is that, you know, if somebody has an expectation about something, right, and they hear something different, they immediately react instead of thinking, and say they see short numbers and they just think, oh, and it feels like a groove, so they don't think that, you know, they don't stop to count or just listen. And, you know, and I will even say that, you know, I have close friends that have criticized heavily the objects between us, objects within us, objects. The Stephen Wilson latest one, right?
Objects outlive us.
Objects outlive us. Yes. So that expansive, one first side of Stephen Wilson's latest album, which you just look at and you think, oh, it's got to be prog. It's like 18 minutes long, and there's some folks that have had strange reactions to, at least for me, seemingly strange reactions. So I think we do it not just with new things that we hear, new bands, but new things from some of our favorites at the same time.
Do you know what the thing is, though? Yeah, and I completely agree with you. Like, and there is a thing to be said, though, about the fact that I understand a certain element of not gatekeeping, but of particularity of the fan base and the bands, because when you're writing something progressive, it takes so much fucking work. Like, it's so hard to write this stuff. It's just so time consuming, and you're putting so much of yourself into it. So I don't mind a little bit of a niche quality of like this, maybe there are certain benchmarks to fall into this genre, because it's so fucking hard to do. And it's not just like anyone can slap the prog sticker on their band, you know what I mean? Because it does negate the big component of like, this stuff is time consuming to write. It's not so simple. It's not. And that said, are there other prog genres that leak into? Yes. For example, Willow Smith is, prog jazz or R&B. She kind of fuses those things. Joni Mitchell is prog folk. So there are other artists outside of just the prog rock or prog metal, prog ginger or prog metal. They do like lots of time changes in their stuff.
Wait,
those
pause.
Are female bands that I listed. Sorry, and
Wait,
artists.
pause. I started right down. Willow Smith.
Women,
Will Smith's kid?
Willow Smith is Will Smith's kid. Yeah, she's brilliant. You absolutely have to check out her album.
Phenomenal, Dave.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there, but it literally is like I was like, oh, she's naming some stuff I don't know that I necessarily know. Let me write this down. And as I'm writing, I'm going, hold on.
It's just gorgeous. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, and it's tons of time changes in the stuff, tons of rhythmic polyrhythms, beautiful like melodies, esoteric, but like grounded,
dissonant.
Wow.
Yeah, like lots of
and not done for the sake of it.
Yeah, no, it's very emotionally imbued. Like, it's emotionally driven music, and it's so fucking progressive. And is she being mentioned enough in the prog realms? No, she's not.
No,
why
no
not?
idea.
She's progressive as fuck. Exactly. You didn't even know. Like, so, and it's one of those things too that. Sorry, I'm very passionate about this. Why are you laughing at me?
You're so reserved.
You need a
Diana.
swear jar.
It's fantastic. Yeah,
I need a swear jar. Okay, but
Go for it. It's online.
I have a beef too, because then we enter into a little bit of the gender thing, and you're just like, okay, well, why don't I know another progressive rock band with time changes and weird structures and whatever like us? Why don't I know another band with a woman singer? They exist. Believe you me, they exist. Throw a stone somewhere, especially I'm sure in America or in Europe or wherever. Or even anywhere in the world, they exist. Why don't I know of them? Why aren't they getting elevated to the same levels of, let's say, The Tool, Perfect Circle, Rush, Dream Theater, Porcupine Tree? Sorry, swear jar again. There's so many bands in that specific prog rock kind of genre that we're kind of sort of navigating. Carnival is another one, like in that more well-known kind of the names that I'm mentioning. Obviously, there's a lot more that we tour with as well. Sorry, but it just makes you scratch your head until it bleeds a bit, like to wonder where are the female rock, progressive rock specifically singers in the well-known sphere of the genre.
I'm keeping you on the speed dial for that future episode where we talk about that very factor of the prog world. The sausage fest that it is.
To loop this in, so I wonder if part of the gatekeeping is on that end as well. I don't know. It's too hard to say if we've experienced that, because no one has told us, you're a woman, so therefore no one said that to us. So I don't think it happens in a blatant way. I just wonder, and I don't even know if we've actually encountered it. I think that we've met a lot of people who've been pretty welcoming, to be honest with you, for the most part. Like, I don't think but I don't know. I don't know if
Sure.
we'd be further ahead right now. If I had balls. Sorry.
This gets into something that I've noticed really recently that is absolutely, as the Joker would say, rub my rhubarb. And it's the idea that it seems like there are people out there that are fixated on the nuts and bolts of how progressive rock was built in many ways, where I see somebody mention, oh, is Pink, there's this Facebook group and a lot of people are like, is this somebody, are they prog? Or is Pink Floyd prog? And you get somebody say, they're not classically trained musicians. So no, they're more art rock than they are prog. I'm like,
Wow.
I'm like, okay, you know
That's insane.
how many titans of prog you just eliminated with that particular criteria? And then I see another one where somebody brings up the Moody Blues and somebody's like, why they don't play odd time signatures? People, okay, come on. It's absolutely frustrating to me that people, I think, they are confusing the idea of a genre with a style. And they're fixating on a style of how it's played and how it sounds. And if it doesn't sound like it was delved out of classical training and English folk music and came out of the 60s or 70s, then it must not really be prog and all this stuff. And guys, it's not how it's built. It's not the nuts and bolts. It's the philosophy. It's the idea that rock can be more than it was at the time when that was developing. And the Beatles were one of the ones that led the way on that, like let's expand this beyond this standard palette of blues-based, country mashup that it was an American stuff.
100%.
And they started blending in the classical elements. And that thing that cracks me up that I admittedly only fairly recently became aware of, because I'm not a deep historian, because my brain is all over the place all the time. So, and I wasn't there at the time, but apparently there was this big rivalry in the 70s between jazz fusion and prog rock. Guys, you both walked into the same room. You just came through different doors. What the hell are you fighting about? Who cares? You're both folding in new elements into standard rock and doing something different with it. Why would there be a rivalry? I'm very confused by that, but it's gatekeeping. It's people deciding this is right, this is wrong, it has to be like this, and that's it. And personally, for me, I don't care for all the value judgments that are being applied.
And that's insane, because a lot of like the prog alt rhythms and stuff and rock came from like African American musicians that were, and even way back, like African music that had like all these polyrhythms and stuff like that. So that's nuts that anyone would try that jazz or like newer prog rock bands would try to claim it as their own. That's really odd.
Yeah, I would say any rift between prog and jazz fusion, I'm going to blame Bill Bruford for that.
Beautiful.
So so we touched on genre for a second, and I want to ask about that, because genre and subgenre and preference, okay? Because like the reason I was going to say this should be the Prog Gatekeepers Anonymous is because one of my theories is we're all kind of like gatekeepers because we all have preferences and whatnot. But I literally did this last night, and albeit I may have been in a slightly grumpy mood, but Dave, I was watching your video on the new 5 new prog tracks on like Prog Online or whatever, and I found myself listening to the parts that you're listening to, and I was like, well, that doesn't even sound like prog. Like you played a track from Neil Morse, which they're prog. But I listened to that song and I was like, that song really sounds a lot more like the Foo Fighters than progressive rock. And then the one that really struck me and made me really start to think was I think they're called I Built the Sky. Is that what they're called? Is that sorry.
That's all right.
And they're sort of like the Pliny and Intervals kind of degent kind of bouncy thing, and very cool, and yet when I really do dig their 2 new tracks, and yet at the same time I find myself sitting there being very, very critical, like this doesn't really sound any different than anything I've heard from Pliny or Intervals, right? And they're not really moving this subgenre of prog, if it's even that. Like it's to me, it's more like djent instrumental. But they're not quite moving it forward. So so I'm just coming out. Hello, my name is Paul. I'm a prog gatekeeper, and because
Like
but I do think we have those preferences, and I wonder sometimes how much our preferences turn into opinions, turn into shouting in the room at all of our friends. They're not prog, they're whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Very interesting thoughts, sir.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, just to touch on that, Paul, like obviously it's if you get a preacher on the corner screaming at the sky and screaming at everyone going, God is real, and everyone's just walking by, right, and not looking at that guy. But if you put that guy on a pulpit and make him the president of a country, all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Like that's the danger of a position. So I'm obviously dramatizing that, but it's like, if you start getting a position of power as a gatekeeper that sort of denies people or denies certain things opportunities, then it becomes a real problem. And like Diana, coming back to what Diana was saying, if there's there's been marginalized women for things, and becomes more of a social political conversation than just gatekeeping, because it stops the exposure, it stops the development of the thing. So we deny ourselves the experience and the perspective of, and I think about it from a filmmaking standpoint, women directors and blah blah blah. So now we've got way more different stories because there was way more women directors because of diversity, which is great. So we're going to get more diversity and more of a smorgasbord of things if we allow more things, which is sort of what we want. Because you said, what we're listening to isn't moving the needle. And trope, I don't think, is really moving the needle. I mean, there's probably going to be, I always say this, I don't really come up with any original ideas. I just, I can't join Porcupine Tree or Tool, so I've got to make my own stuff, I'm just influenced by these things. I'm a product of influence, and I just love, pretending I'm in those bands. Now, but then, we've got a couple of songs on the new album that are sort of just, like Glory, which is crazy. It's like 7-part harmony, but it's not Queen, but it has, I love the 80s, and I love Simple Minds and Tears for Fears. Just the absolute beautifulness of, Big Country. Like, these amazing bands that had these amazing sounds, and obviously Peter Gabriel solo stuff is just wow. He's my favorite for sure as an artist. So, I know I'm jumping around a lot of different places, but I think with the gatekeeping thing, it's really important to sort of, be opinionated and say, this, I don't agree with this and blah, blah, blah. But with gatekeeping with a desire for power and control, it seems like that's where the danger point is, and that's what has to be sort of looked at, or, a little bit more democratic.
I'm curious. So I first saw you open for King's X, and so anyone that opens for King's X is going to get extra attention from me, and one of the greatest things about the venues that they play, and I've seen you in a couple of venues, is that you're hanging out in the lobby, shaking hands and kissing babies, as they say, right? And so you start to develop a relationship with audience. So I'm curious, from your perspective, how important is that in this aspect of not just outreach, but then word of mouth the opposite way, right? All of a sudden you have advocates.
Do you want me to take that, Di?
Both. Yeah, you start.
Okay. Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't think having an attitude of thinking that you're a rock star and being better than people, it just doesn't make any sense to me, because it's so easy to be nice to people that like you. It's just so easy. When someone comes up and goes, "Hey man, that was pretty cool. Hey buddy, what's going on? That's awesome." It's just so easy to like people that like you. So I love that process of it. As soon as, I say at the merch booth before we go on, and I always do this little thing where someone will come up and go, "Oh, who's this band?" I'm like, "Oh, they're just the openers." Any good? I'm like, "Not really, but you know." And then, and then 9 times out of 10, the same guy will come back and go, "Hey, man, you were cool. That was cool. I like." But I love talking to people, and then as soon as we get off stage, Di runs to the merch booth, and it's not to sell T-shirts; it's just to touch base. There's a moment there where you're going to get people who are just like, "Wow, that was cool," because they got to experience it in the flesh, and it's a really different experience when you're seeing something new to their eyes and ears for the first time. They're just going to be like, they want to share that with you. You go and hang out with those people and say, "Hey, what's going on? Hey, that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. Hey, I've never heard you guys before. Wow, cool." Whatever they're saying. So it's so easy to develop relationships with people who are so effusive and appreciative in the moment. And then people are asking questions. Some people go, "Hey, so you're just a 2-piece because we're doing the acoustic thing?" That's right. Yeah, no, really cool. But the album, it's got a drummer and everything. Oh, where are they? Well, COVID, and this is what happened, and blah blah blah. People had to take different jobs. It just really messed up.
We're building it now, so yeah.
Platforms and stuff like that. So, but to answer your question, it is the love of my life to be able to hang out and talk to people that love the same thing. I remember we did a show in Sellersville in Pennsylvania, and a guy comes, it's crazy. I mean, it's such a beautiful venue, like one of the beautifulest venues we ever played. And guys were coming up and going, "Hey man, I really love that, the 30-second note, the 16th to the 32nd note thing you did in the breakdown of that thing." I'm like, damn, like these are musicians, you know what I mean? These are people that, and Paul, King's X shows, everyone's singing along, right?
Exactly.
It's like, you've got musicians go to those shows. So it's wonderful to talk to people. And to be honest, I don't know if it's better or more of a nicer thing, but when a musician comes up and goes, "Hey, that was cool," it's like, well, the respect of my peers is very important to me. It is, and that's what drives me to want to be better. So, I mean, so to answer your question for me, and I know Donna will answer as well, but absolutely, 100%. I love that building the fan base, but it's not fan base. It's just like people who are cool, who dig your stuff.
It's our friend base.
Friend base may or may not buy a CD.
Yeah, I have a light switch that is off before we play. I'm an introvert, and then it goes way fucking on right after we play. So I'm like the most extroverted I will ever be in life right after we finish performing, and I really want to chat with people and connect and be like, "Hey, what are you like into?" and just do that whole thing. I love it. And I love it because I love things that are handmade. And so what does that mean? Like I like when it seeps into everything. So what is handmade? So like things that you just can't replace with a computer. So a human connection, you cannot replace that, like signing someone's CD or whatever vinyl, having that interaction in person and building that community is just awesome. And in the situation of the King's X fans, they're lovely. Everyone's well behaved and civilized and awesome, and they're just music lovers, even if they play music or they don't, like they're music lovers, and so that to me is so awesome because it hits them in a different way. They really appreciate the crafting that in our case goes into our stuff, and even though we were the support band in that situation. So, and then I carry it into even the way we interact with the band. So like the people who support us. So, we just shipped out 60 plus or whatever thank you cards that I hand wrote to people who donated to the Indiegogo campaign to help us make album 2, So again, like I could type it up and then just print 60 copies, but it's nice to have that literal physical like DNA seeping into every kind of interaction with people who support the music, because that is what it is about. I think that kind of connectivity and community building. And the more personalized we can keep it, the better. Obviously, it's going to be hard as we continue to grow and stuff like that. Our wrists are not going to survive like how many cards or whatever. But as much as we can, I personally would love to keep it in that, centered around that.
We all know Steve Howe's not personally writing cards to all his fans that bought the last album. So,
who's Steve? I don't know who that is.
oh,
Guitar player, yes.
yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry about that, but yeah.
No, you're good.
And I think to me, a lot of that sort of comes down to that whole idea of what do we let in? What do we let in our little circles? Where do we let in our friends group? Where do we let in music? Where do we let in? And I think that, links back to that whole idea of gatekeeping is, I guess, to some degree, there are, I think for people, once they have established the bounds of their world, I guess maybe it's a natural human impulse at some point to say, you know what, I've got the boundaries, doors are closed, that's it, we're done. Not letting anybody else in unless they know the secret password.
Yeah.
And that's it. You gotta play the right time signatures or be the right training or do the right thing with your music. And we're not going to accept you unless you do that.
I will say that because of that, I think prog hits a glass ceiling. It creates its own glass ceiling and then keeps it there in a way. Because a band like, for example, Sleep Token, who are progressive, like their structures are totally wacky. And do they have a chorus? Do they not in some songs? Is he rapping all of a sudden? Is he doing fry screams in another part of the song? Is he singing very melodically? Yes to all the above. That to me feels quite progressive. And they get very lambasted and kind of shunned from the prog community because they're not fitting the kind of, or they're modernizing in their own sort of way. And then, so therefore what you get is like all of a sudden you kind of almost got to break out of the community to surpass the glass ceiling of like how far you can go within the genre based on like reaching into the popular, like into the masses, the music kind of permeating through it. So it creates a sort of a bit of a glass ceiling. So I don't know if it's damning itself a little bit. I don't know if it's negative or positive necessarily. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is happening. So.
Yeah. It seems to me that glass ceiling is in no small part due to the fact that the majority of, and I could be way off with this, the majority of progressive rock fans are grumpy old men at this point. And a lot
of them are really nice. They might be nice and grumpy. But
we're super nice, but we're very set in our ways, and we're grumpy sometimes, and we're tired. But it's funny because you say Sleep Token, and like even the pageantries of their shows is just so, it is. I think they're completely progressive, and
I think I don't
and they're
listen to them
just
very
like
much, but yeah, I would.
Yeah,
think so.
they just seem to be, and I'm terrible at new progressive rock. That's why I hang out with Dave, because he introduces me to all these cool new bands. But they seem to be absent from a lot of conversations that it seems like they should be a part of. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think maybe there is a little bit of I don't know again, but there might be. I wonder if there's a bit of a disdain for when you do permeate through and like through to a more mass audience. I wonder if that could be the issue for some people. I don't know.
You know what's interesting too, if you think about it from the standpoint, does the genre need the band, or does the band need the genre, right? So in a band like Trope, we are so appreciative of the progressive rock genre, because if we were just an alternative rock band, then we're competing with, millions and millions of bands. Plus also we can't, because we don't, we're not Foo Fighters or Nickelback or whatever, which I love and I think are fantastic.
Yes.
But so the progressive rock genre, I'm so proud to be a part of it, in the sense if anyone's going to allow me to be a part of it, from that standpoint. You get a band like Sleep Token who transcend it from a genre, because Sleep Token are quite massive if you think about it. So all of a sudden, do they need the progressive rock genre and the fan base to even have a career? Well, obviously not, because they're fine and they do everything. Porcupine Tree, the same thing. They don't ever, they sell out every show they have, but they are progressive rock. But yes, that's an interesting question. It's like, can Sleep Token actually expose progressive rock to more people. So all of a sudden, progressive rock, like rap and hip hop, country, progressive rock, are all doing this instead of country, hip hop, and rock, and then progressive rock. As a smaller little subgenre or whatever. Because I think progressive rock does need a champion.
Yes.
To take it and go, oh well, it's just the same way that this whole Seattle movement made grunge amazing. We got a champion, Nirvana, and Pearl Jam, and everything. But Nirvana was the champion, held the torch, and exposed it worldwide, and made every band want to be like that. And I think when you get a band like Tool, which is very influential to try and people go, oh, I want to be like Tool, and I really like the vibe of that. If there is a champion, it just like you say, Diana, it lifts the glass ceiling, goes higher, but it also expands the audience and expands, the genre.
Yeah,
it's interesting because I think, like Paul mentioned, that idea, the glass ceiling or the building of fences, and I think to a degree, Prague itself and the community itself actually are the ones that start creating some of that and limiting themselves. Even the genre itself limits it because people start to expect, well, here's what it is, and it's this. And if it's not exactly this, if it's like this or like this a little bit, and all of a sudden, but again, for me, the philosophy always has come back, the idea of you're doing something with elements that aren't necessarily always part of rock or part of even progressive rock at this point in time, because literally, I got to think at some point you run out of new elements to put into it because there's a finite amount of them in the earth. And for a band like Sleep Token, like I give them a lot of credit because who else really brought that R&B hip hop vibe into more of a post-metal kind of experience?
Yes.
I mean, they're getting gate kept on both the prog side and the metal side and all this, and they're just doing their own thing. And honestly, in my mind, in many ways, the philosophy of Prague is do your own thing. Don't be afraid to bring in diverse elements that don't normally belong there and create something completely new from it. Because otherwise, you're right, to a degree, we're all, like I'm an instrumentalist, I'm creating music or something like this, so I'm talking out my ass. You all might be writing stuff and creating music that's based in your influences because it's what we do. It's what humans do. It's the person, I think, in many ways that's brave enough to do something and go, the first person that said this chocolate and this peanut butter, see what happens here.
There's those two guys walking down the street.
Right.
Yeah.
You got your metal in my hip hop. You got your hip hop in my metal.
It becomes that. Did he do hip hop?
And then like a Hozier kind of tone too in the way he sings.
Yes. Yeah. It becomes a not in my backyard sort of attitude, which is terrible.
Yeah. How is that not progressive? What they are doing right now, it's very progressive. It's very out of the box. It is. There's nobody else I could say that does exactly what they're doing anywhere close to the way they're doing it. Did I love the last album? Nah, I didn't love it as much as maybe I like some of their earlier stuff. But nonetheless, I absolutely can respect what they did and respect what they put together. And I can absolutely respect the lyricist. What's a vessel for the vulnerability in those lyrics. There was really something deep going on there that was like reflecting his life inside the gilded cage.
Well, and speaking about genres in that sort of sense, you got rap artists like Saul Williams, who did the Niggy Tardust album with Trent Reznor. So you're talking about industrial.
Wow.
And this was like a good 15 years ago, and no one knows about that record.
Including
and then
both of
obviously,
us. I said including both of us because we're both writing it down right now.
I'm going to write it down too.
And D'Angelo, like phenomenal D'Angelo. Probably not so much progressive, but in a little bit though. Like, all live instrumentation for his R&B and hip hop and what he does. Absolutely phenomenal artist, But so you have these genre shifts where it's like, I like to, for me, I love electronica. You wouldn't know, but I actually love electronic music. I've done remixes for a lot of electronica. I did the drummer from Nine Inch Nails.
Danny Carey.
Sorry?
Danny Carey. Oh, not Nine Inch Nails. Sorry.
Josh Freese.
Ignore me. I'm okay. I heard
yeah.
you said one thing
So-
and I heard something else.
Is it the
I
new
was-
one,
I was
Josh
doing
Freeze?
Huh?
Josh Freeze, Dave?
No.
Original?
This is the original.
Okay.
But anyway, he had is it Charlie Clouser? Oh, he's a keyboard player. Anyway, he had a solo project, and I remixed one of his songs called "Micro-Sized Boy," and it was a competition for Sony, and I won it. And it was so much fun to sort of do that sort of thing where, you know, it's taking industrial elements and doing sort of different things with them, which is, I love electronica for that reason. You can just sort of just do all these different things, doing remixes on stuff, you know. And remixes is the reason why we did the Shout version of that song, is because I had all the source material for that song because I was doing a remix for it about 15 years ago. So I got all the original, and you can hear Roland Orzabal in that scatting, not scatting,
cool.
but like screaming at the end, going shout, shout, let it out, let it. You know, he's just like going off, and that's not in the original track, but it's amazing, you know. And also, if you think of like a Rick Astley song, who played on that? Vinnie Colaiuta played on the Rick Astley song, like, or was it? Yeah, Vinnie Colaiuta played on Rick Astley. Yeah. Like, and then if you hear the end of that song, you all of a sudden you hear, you know, and it's like as it fades out, you're hearing just Vinny go off, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Or stop, you know, you better stop before Gavin Harrison.
Mm.
Right?
Well,
You
he
guys
played
playing
on
on these pop
so
songs.
much stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, so
Yeah.
are we gatekeeping? But all of a sudden, oh no, you played on a pop song 30 years ago. You know?
All right.
What about Omar Haken
Oh my
playing
God,
with
it
Michael
feels
Jackson?
like
That's well. So one thing, Rick Astley did write a song with Fish. So Rick Astley has prog cred to go. That's an interesting. That is a very, very interesting thing because so many prog artists, and you know, we're in like the Philadelphia, New York, New Jersey sort of span, Dave and I, and so many of them, you know, they all have day jobs, right? They're all, you know, and many of those day jobs are playing in corporate type wedding bands or, you know, corporate cover bands, you know, touring up and down the East Coast, playing corporate parties.
yeah.
And then they turn around and they put together these amazing progressive rock albums, and you're just like, why can't you just do this? And they're like, yeah, well, we got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
But you know, it's not like we're sitting there in the audience like, oh, well, this can't be good because, you know, last week they were playing Bon Jovi and Journey till the, you know, the cows come home. Like there is something that there's something that can be offered from all of these musical adventures, I think.
Yeah, totally.
It's an
100%.
interesting thought then that Paul, that you would suggest that the artificial boundaries of gatekeeping is really a fan construct much more than it is a creator construct. That the musicians themselves are like, music's music, dude. I'm going to play something, and they're maybe not quite feeling so bound to the genre as we might like to think they are.
It depends on the band, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they're doing it as a day job, right? Like, you know, some people are just, you know, they're playing music to make money. I think there's a positive, there's a positive outcome of all of that playing, right?
Yeah.
And certainly it somehow is going to permeate into influencing, you know, their songs and their songwriting. But I, you know, we do this thing on Progressive Palaver whenever we do an album and we talk about it. We always go back in time and say, okay, what could have been influencing the artist in between their last two albums? And we go through the timeline of progressive rock and talk about all the albums. And I'm always thinking, they weren't listening to any of this shit. They were just doing their own thing, you know? So they weren't necessarily being influenced, maybe a little bit, but
We
I
almost don't listen to progressive rock music at all, right, Dave? Well, Dave writes all the track, like Moonhead writes all the tracks and stuff, like produces all the, like plays all the guitars and programs.
Yeah, the last couple of things that have really sort of turned me on was listening to some Eva Cassidy stuff. Have you heard her?
I've heard, but
Writing
I
it
haven't.
down.
Oh, like amazing story about this woman. She basically, she went into a venue in maybe the 2000s or whatever, did an hour set, then found out she had brain cancer and died a year later. And if you ever want to hear like one of the most honest voices in the world, look it up and just have a listen to that. And especially Di, you have a listen to it. So
I've heard her. Yeah,
on.
She's incredible.
Oh, you've heard it?
I've heard of Eva Cassidy. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so
yeah.
So
amazing.
and then there's a band called Gus Gus who have a song called "Love Is Alone." I just love this track. It's an electronic thing, and it's just so cool. And listen to the inversions and the chord changes in this song. It's very, very cool. But it's like a Euro pop electronica song. Very, very cool. Another one is Low Roll Bones. That song just rips me apart and puts me back together. It's just so beautiful. And the story about that is that there's a video game called Death Stranding with Hideo Kojima, fantastic game designer in Japan. He was in Iceland in a record store going through stuff, and all of a sudden something was playing, and he turns around and goes, "Who's this?" And I said, "Oh, it was a guy named Ryan, and he's from the States, but he's up here because his wife's up here." And he goes, he takes all of this music and puts it in his video game.
Oh, wow.
And it is the most, it is the most, I couldn't believe, I played this game, and it's basically a post-apocalyptic delivery guy, right? So you go, so you got all this time to walk around, and you think, it's boring. The soundtrack is such a vibe, and it's absolutely incredible. So Low Roll, and unfortunately Ryan passed a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
At 40. But there's all these, there's this beautiful music that I get open to and I discover just from going into the world and asking questions and people turning me on to stuff. I haven't heard the new Carnival record yet. I've heard one song.
Neither.
And I have to listen to it. And I'm glad that I'm listening to it when I'm not creating in creative mode, because I want to steal a whole bunch of things. No, but another band too, from the drummer from Amok Parada, I think his name's from Fever 666. He's got a duo with another guy, and it's so cool. I can't remember the name of it, but it's really cool. And they went to India. They traveled to India for like 36 hours and blah blah blah. And then one of those death cages with all the cars going around it, they played right in the middle of it. It's just, gosh. Cool. Yeah, it's really super cool. But I like that drummer too. So you're getting turned on to things that just sort of resonate, and it's not specifically, I mean, if I should be going to listen to old Genesis records or, I never listen to Rush records. I don't listen to Rush at all.
Yeah, same.
So, and I don't really listen to Tool. I love The Pot. It's probably one of my favorite songs sonically. I'm just like, the way that the guitars, when they come in, squeeze my ears like this, they go, like this feeling is just, I love it. So sonically, Joe Barresi did that one. And so I get turned on by sonics more than I do anything else. Songs are cool. Low Roll Bones is a song that I just listen to, and I just love it. But sonics, anything like Yellow. Remember the band Yellow?
Oh, Yellow, Yello.
Yello.
Yep, like yellow. Like you're answering the phone.
The thing from Ferris Bueller?
Right.
You listen to that album, Trevor Horn produced it.
Yeah.
And that's sonically, whoa, man. It's like, it still stands up today. And this was like 35, 40 years, whatever. The sonics in that, and Trevor Horn, like, come on, man. I love what he does. He's just absolutely adorable sonically.
He's adorable.
It's adorable. Yeah.
I love it.
See, and listening you talk about all this, Dave, is the idea like that if your mind is open to that kind of stuff and you're listening to prog music, you're going to find your way to hearing things you've never heard before. You're going to hear things that are very different, and you're maybe going to also be open to things that are really different than what you've heard before. And therein, on one hand, is almost the irony at some point, again, like the idea that, well, we just say, but it's got to sound like this. But wait, but if you just lock in on it's got to sound like this, it's got to sound like Yes and Genesis and Camel and Nectar and Happy the Man or whatever from the 70s, then this little list I'm writing down here never hit the radar. You never get a chance
and
at it.
that's the thing is like I think for us, like Dave's listening to such like you're listening to such different stuff when you're approaching this stuff, even from the melody writing standpoint, and then from delivery standpoint. Like I'm listening to acts like artists like on this past album, I listened to a lot of Tori Amos. Because she just has so much intention in what she does. Like it's so layered and subversive and like pissed off, but like in a laughing at you way. Like it's, I don't know how she does it anyways, but it's amazing. And so even that, and then there was one part of Spoiled Leaves where all of a sudden like a Kate Bushy thing happened, like in that melody when your sun gets when you leave, when you love yeah, that thingy, like all of a sudden that seeped in somehow because I was listening to some, I don't know, so it's just
beautiful when that kind of stuff comes out,
yeah,
just
I like that
organically.
Yeah,
but
it's an accident, but like
we listen to so many different things, Di, but I really believe that trope is trope, and I don't gatekeep trope, but I sort of, I know when a song is for Divine Astronaut and not for trope. You know what I mean? It's like, that's our little side project, electronic side project that we have. But and that's sort of like Portishead, Massive Attack sort of inspired stuff. It's like it's Bristol, that sort of vibe. But it's not progressive. It's just something that we put together when we couldn't do that that tour with King's X in the UK.
That tour, it got canceled.
We were
like
going to
6
do
days
it got canceled. So I just
we were in Europe
3 weeks so we could go and play shows because we were devastated.
that was wild.
Yeah, so but that's the thing. Like I know what trope sounds like, and I know it has to be that. Even though the new record is a lot of different stuff, and there's a couple of little things that are like tipping right on the edge of like, dude, does that belong on the record? Maybe not, but let's put it on there because why not?
Side B, we took some. Yeah, you took some chances there on the second side of the album.
But side A,
you're really good at keeping it, within the tonality, and this is like a testament also to the way. Not just the way you write, but also the way you're mixing the tones you're using on instruments like guitars, bass, and the way that everything's getting tracked. You're kind of like musical directing to make sure that all these different vibes, and it's fucking insane. I don't know how the hell you did this, but there's so many different vibes off our upcoming album. And I know this because it took me like years to track some of this stuff because I didn't know how the fuck to approach some of the stuff like Glory. I didn't know how to sing that, and as far as frequency wise, because then we have a song like Here's to the Lonely, which is the song that Gavin Harrison played drums on, or then like a song like that we released Sigil or Past, where there's growl vocals, and it's such a different, it's more like of an epic opus-y kind of vibe versus like an introverted Callous, which is a love song, like an unrecorded love song, but it's super progressive, 100%. But it's introspective and like sad. But then all of a sudden you have Glory, which is like this, not external, but sounding external, very hope-driven, emotional.
80s outro.
80s, like, so there's so many different vibes. I almost imploded trying to keep up with how do I, like, make all of this sound like trope and hit the frequency. So that, to me, took fucking years because I'm just like, how do I sing it in a way that doesn't sound like I'm covering it, but that still sounds like trope, but that also matches the frequency of how it was written. And I'm just like, it
doesn't sound like a compilation album. That's the key.
But you were taste making that. Like, it doesn't sound like a compilation album, but you were also taste making and also helping me at times guide through the whole process, not only in what you were doing with guitars, bass, programming drums, mixing, but also I would send you stuff and you're like, no, Di, like that's not the right vibe. Like, just do it again. So you were literally reining everything in, and somehow you made this fucking smorgasbord of a double album beast with two backs.
I Rick Rubin'd you.
Sound like one band. And I don't know how the hell you did that.
Rick Rubin'd you. But that's the thing, Guy. I'll give you your flowers.
You Rick Rubin, you write royally Rubin both of us. So yeah, we almost like died trying to make
the cohesion that you have on this album because of the multitude of places that you have to live emotionally, but to make it cohesive is really, really cool. Like it's really cool. I mean, it's really obvious when something sounds like a compilation record with hashed out, and it's all of a sudden it's different or whatever. I'm a huge fan of that. Like the top 5 albums, Peter Gabriel's Passion. Oh my God! Like, have you heard that, guys?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah. Yep.
I heard some of it, not all of it.
Just the whole vibe of that. They recorded that in caves in Israel or some, or in the Middle East, right? It's like all these Middle Eastern instrumentalists and That's beautiful. And then you think of Stone Temple Pilots' Purple. That album is so cohesive as a vibe.
Yeah.
It's like such a great rock record. It has an acoustic elements, but it's not. It's an album you can put on. So I love albums, you know. And obviously something like Dark Side of the Moon, fantastic and whatever. But when an album sounds like an album from start to finish, and there's still colors and changes, but it sounds like, you know, it sounds like the artist, not a compilation of just a whole bunch of different songs. I do love those cohesive elements. And Dyad was really important that Dyad sounded like an album, not just a bunch of songs thrown in. You know, even though there's so much diversity in them, they've got to have a cohesion to it. And I don't know, I couldn't tell you how to do that, but it's sort of like anything. You just sort of, when you know when it's not right, you know, you sort of just get, it's like tasting something. Oh, it's not right. What does it need? You know, you just try and add things, or you can't take away things, unfortunately.
I'm laughing at the how, because it's like, I could tell you, no, I can't tell you how, but I can tell you that how it's like you spend years, you almost kill everyone in the band, and then you come out with something that works. That's how.
That's true. I mean, it is really amazing what you did on that record, Di, and no one will really ever understand it. I don't think because they'll just listen to it and appreciate it and go, that sounds good. And or it might be, people might listen to it and go, I love this, or they go, yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, good that you did that. But it is so cohesive. It's so cohesive. Nothing at all makes me go, oh, that doesn't belong there. Or, you know, there's no distraction from the vibe of the thing. If you don't like it, that's okay. But there's no mistakes in it, in the sense of it's supposed to be what it is, whether you like it or not. And there's flaws in it for sure.
Ran that whole thing, so I hope
mistakes from a delivery standpoint, from an intention standpoint, you know. But the next record, guys, is going to be called Dream Killer, and it's a death metal record.
We're fucking angry. That's why.
There you go. See, that's we
don't get better with age. It's not like, oh, you get mellower with it. No, well, not in my case. Oh,
you get angry. You get kids that get off your lawn. You got clouds. You got to yell out. There's things like that. You know,
it's terrible because now I'm older and it's like I have less energy, but I'm so angry. So I'm like,
and the back in my day. But it's that's interesting as you guys talk about that as well, because it's sort of related to another topic, but at the same time, that idea, the gatekeeping whole thing is. What if you decided Eleutheromania was, this is what Trope sounds like, and that's it? Dyad took that and expanded. Kept the core, but expanded. And again, you brought in new elements, you brought in new styles, you brought in new compositional approaches, you brought in new song structures. Like that, to me, it's like, there's always that danger. And I guess that's me. I rebel. I don't want structure. I don't like structure. I want to do what I want to do. And I think maybe that's one of the things that's pulls me into prog, is it's like, when it's at its best, I feel like there are no limits and there are no firm expectations that have to be adhered to. And I get frustrated when it feels like that's what's happening, that it's got to be like this or it's got to be like that. And I'm like, but it's progressive. It's evolving. So, you know, like even that in microcosm, there are bands sometimes, I guess, that lose that or don't want that or fear it even. And they hit a groove and they do it. I get it. You know, Jordan referenced a band that he didn't name, but coming across the idea that, does it feel like we're writing the same song over and over again? Maybe, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Is that Trope?
Okay. Yeah. But did you lose the thread? Did you just in that moment admit you've lost the thread?
I was thinking of another band.
100%.
Yeah.
I sometimes I wonder though, is like, it's so difficult in this day and age, right? To develop relationships with your fans, with people through music, because it's a strange time where it's never easier to record music and put it out, but to do it right, it's never been harder. You know, and like,
why?
And sometimes,
why do you say it's never been harder?
Well, because I think I feel like it's never been hard. Well, I'm going to say it's never been harder because some of the bands that I love seem to take a very long time to do things. It takes 3 or 4 years to make an album because you know, of all the other things that kind of get in the way, and it's almost like a constant, and you know, and you mentioned you're not just recording and producing you're also fundraising, to fund it and doing all of it. It's there's not that sort of cycle. We don't live with artists.
Started on the living
right. Well, we don't, and
that we fucking incurred,
and having to do other things to survive while you're doing that.
Oh, dude, I have graphic
Exactly.
stories of like some of the some of the stuff.
But as a fan,
that had to happen.
Yeah, as a fan, we don't get to, you don't get to live with an artist for 5 or 6 years and hear four or five albums and see them on tour a couple of times and watch them grow and develop. It's like you get, okay, I saw them and I met them and they're cool and I'm buying their CD and then like, and you're just waiting for the next thing, right?
Yeah, and then like half a decade later, hi.
and then so I'm just bringing that up from the sense of it might be very tempting for a band to say, listen, content is king. Let's just get another album out there of the same stuff that we had before and go to town and get back to it. And I don't know that that's, what I like. But we there is that dichotomy of I want something new and exciting that takes me somewhere new. And then if it's too new and takes me too far away from where the root was, I get upset.
Yeah, because it's not what got you emotionally attached and what you bought into with when you emotionally invested in that band. So it makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense.
But I think there's something here, Moonhead, you said this and I love it. It's easy to be nice to people who like you. That's one of the greatest sentences I've heard in the last, probably in 2026. But what makes me think about that, because we were talking about relationships, right? And relationships with, and having a connectedness with the audience. I think from those that might, get to the pulpit, right? The other piece is that it's also kind of hard to be nasty to people that you like, right? And I feel like the day and age that we live in,
I screwed onto your neck, then yes.
Yeah. I just get so disappointed sometimes when I read reviews of artists that I like and I just feel like, this person listened to it one time and they just wrote something that really is not favorable to them. And it's just kind of not right, because even what I'm reading them saying, if they would have listened to it 2 or 3 times, they would have been like, oh, okay, I get it. And, if there's a connectedness with those folks, then, maybe they tend to be a little bit more, even if they're honest, right? And they say, okay, I didn't like this, like, but they at least highlight, why you should be. Awesome. And I don't know if this is the answer to gatekeeping, but, after tonight, I have at least 5 things that I'm going to go find and listen to that I didn't know about. And maybe that's just what we need. We need more time to share what we like with people instead of, trashing what we don't like.
Those examples that I've shared with you are going to make you gatekeep even more and go, what the hell?
You're like, oh, fuck no.
This stuff isn't progressive at all, man.
It's okay. It's all right. It grows the mind.
That's funny. Yeah. Paul, you sparked a thought. Oh, I know what the thought was. Speaking as somebody who for 1 year committed himself to doing approximately a weekly album review. I hope somebody somewhere out there isn't trying to write reviews based on one listen, because there are times I agree with you. I feel like they listened to it once, they didn't care. I don't know that even in keeping up with trying to do about 5 times in a space of a week, listening to an album, that I could even totally grasp everything that was there. And especially because, my chosen genre was prog rock, which is usually rather musically and often lyrically dense. But one of the parts I hate about too is at times like if something that doesn't match with me, I don't like it this much, but I feel like I need to be honest, because if I'm not going to be honest, what damn good am I to somebody as an album reviewer if I don't give an honest opinion? But boy, I didn't like doing that, because I don't like downing somebody else's work. And especially here's that other half of this bit that I've been doing is I sure as hell don't want to trash an album by somebody I hope to interview someday. And the potential absolutely existed.
Yeah, and people
Dave?
Even if you don't like the stuff, people tend to put hard work into their music. But
I'll say something, Dave. As a creator myself, I would prefer you either love or hate what I do than be indifferent to it.
Fair enough.
Every single time. So
Yeah,
because it is a passionate response. I get really passionate about certain things and go, oh, I can't stand that thing, man. I was like, listen to that, you know? And then sometimes it transforms. I go, oh, or I learn something about myself, why I didn't. So
huge.
I think it's your natural response. And again, we've been on the receiving end of shitty one listen reviews.
Yes.
We have, and we get on the phone with each other and go, that guy, I'm going to find out where he lives. It's like, you know, it just makes you so mad. What are you talking about? You just want to talk to the guy and go, well, you didn't even listen to
I don't say that
you don't
because
even
there's
understand.
already other people I'd much rather dispose of that I'm tracking down. No kidding.
But
here's the dirty secret. I remember when you guys were shooting for last September for the release of the album and all that, and you were looking at drum up stuff, and Diana even, you know, reached out and it's like, hey, can you give our album a review and this, that, and the other? The first thought in my mind was, fuck. Oh God, that's too much pressure.
Oh, really?
I know them. I like them. And I'm like,
what if it sucks?
What if I'm indifferent? What if I only what if I'm like, shit? Like, all right.
But that would be okay with us. I mean, we're pretty good at like, I mean, we're sensitive cats, but we're good at dealing with what is. We would rather it be honest and like, be like, fuck you guys.
But it would have been heartrending for me. It would have been absolutely heartrending for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I listened, I was so thrilled. I'm like, oh my God, this is so damn good. So it's like, it's genuine, the fact that I would gush over it, because I'm not good at faking that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, thank God, but it was such a relief. Oh my God, it's great. Oh my God, thank God it's great. It's like, I can review it genuinely and not feel like I'm basically like, turn around.
And just going through the motions of like,
But you know, awesome. Dave, you got, you know, you are such a passionate musicologist, you know, and I call you that. The thing is, you know, you saying I'm mad at Trope. I don't like this. I think it's like, I would listen to that and go, that's really cool. Yeah, I can tell you that you care enough to have an opinion based upon listening and experiencing and wanting it to be good. And if it's not, it's disappointing. Those emotional responses are all positive. Someone going, it sounds like it should be on the B side of a Stone Temple Pilots record. Next song, whatever. You can tell when there's just no give a shit, you know, for the thing. I would love someone to talk for an hour and a half and tell me how much I sucked. Totally cool. It's like, you care enough to do. And that's a funny story. When I had a little sort of a band that's a lot of the songs from this was, you know, from Trope came from a band called Half a Halo that I was fronting and singing and playing guitar like 20 years ago, or whatever, in Canada. And a guy from the same agency it was called the Agency Group. And he came on a Wednesday night, and there was two people there, a guy from a label and this guy. And he turned around and sort of said, first of all, he's like, where'd you get these musicians from? And I said, I just know them, putting together, and we got this little band now. And it was a screamer and me singing. So it was very different, like Alexis on Fire, but even before they were there. So, and a lot of progressive elements and sort of songs like Plateau and all this sort of stuff came from all that from back in the day.
We rewrote melodies and stuff, but yeah.
Oh yeah, it's all Dinah's melodies and stuff like that. The music was the same. And even past on the new record, it sort of started there. But my point being, Paul from the Agency Group came and sort of goes, you know, I'm not gonna sign you. And I'm like, okay, no problem. And he spent an hour and a half telling me why he didn't like the band on a Wednesday night at midnight when he had to go to work the next day. 3 months later, he signs the band. Now, so, you know what I mean? If you're going to tell me this is the reason I don't like you, blah, 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 you know, it's like, there's no one out here. How am I going to make money? There's, you know, you're not bringing any fans, all this sort of stuff, whatever you're saying. But you're spending the time with me to tell me these things. You care. And, you know, sometimes it's just like, I love passionate people and I want people to be like, I hate Trope, they suck because of this or whatever. It's like, tell me why I suck. And it's like, because of this and blah, blah, blah. You're trying to sound like Tool, or those guitar tones or the bass tones. Every single bass tone sounds like Tool. And I'm like, cool, man, that's great. And it's like, you're offended by that. But you know what? You're going to end up loving it. Yeah. Because you love Tool. You're going to be like, oh, okay, well, all of a sudden I yearn for something different from Tool, and I don't know where to find it. Well, that bass line at the beginning of a Trope song, and especially on Died, you hear some of it. The bass lines are really cool, and the tone is a version of a song that took 110 versions. That's a version is every day, right? 110 days, and about 70 of those days is trying to find the right bass tone, And I'm not listening to Tool records. I'm trying to find out where it lives in the song.
Sorry, I'm just like, I get so pissed when it sounds like I'm like, have you heard all of the songs? Like, I can see how some of them, you would say that. We don't listen to them, but sure, there's peripheral influence. But
did you hear someone on Instagram that turned around and was like, "Oh, there's bullshit Tool thing," and it's like, and then responded, and they were like, "Oh, I didn't even listen to the song. I just listened to 5 seconds of it." It's like, what? You didn't even listen to the song.
I can't.
Yeah, it's fun to fight with people.
Yeah, it's funny. It reminds me too, because in a video I was kind of putting together and prepping about Yes, and reading about Talk. There was it nine? Was that out? I bet Paul. 93, 94, 94.
I would say 93, 93,
yeah,
94. Yeah.
Little story there that as far as the critical reception. The album titles Talk, and one critic just wrote a 2-word review, "Shut up." And River Raven was quoted as saying, I laughed at first, but then I was like, that doesn't help anybody. There's nothing constructive in it. It doesn't tell me what you did or didn't like, and what am I supposed to do with that? There's nothing I can take away, and that's exactly the same thing you just talked about there.
100%. Yeah, tell me why you hate it so much. I hate this song because it reminds me of my childhood when I, used to get ripped off by the ice cream man, and the dog would chase me. It just, whatever. I don't know.
That turned way more innocent than I thought it was going to get way darker than that. But I'm like, okay, I appreciate that you're keeping it,
It was interestingly specific.
Yeah, but it's passionate responses are awesome. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like, and Dave, moving forward when we, the next record comes out, it's like, I want you. It's like, I'd love to hear your, and I'm not saying that you weren't honest on Diet. I really appreciate your support and your love for it and that. But absolutely, it wouldn't. I'd never take anything personally because it's a passionate response is what you want.
Yeah.
And yeses turn to no, and no's turn to yes. They do in life. It's like I hated asparagus until I tasted it with a little bit of garlic and balsamic. It's like,
I wouldn't know that actually.
So, but it's an interesting thing.
I'm hungry.
And I've kind of had that experience before. My classic one is I Mother Earth, Scenery and Fish.
Oh yeah.
First time I listened to it, went nah. Second time I listened to it again, I thought, no, give it a shot. Nah. Third time, and this was over the course of years. Like each listen was years apart because I just kind of put away and I'm like, bad purchase. Third time I listened to it, I went, fuck, this is great. Like, oh my God, this is such a good album. And speaking of an album that I know was almost certainly not initially considered progressive, definitely I wouldn't call their first album very progressive. It definitely was more post-grunge kind of thing. But the second album, Scenery and Fish, with the funk grooves and the Santana-like digressions and all this other stuff blended in, like some of that post-grunge or that mid 90s alt sound, but all the other stuff. And like, why didn't I get this the first 2 times I heard it? Now I love it.
Yeah,
I have that reaction sometimes to like pop music too. Like even with when I first found out about and this is totally different, but when I first found out about Billie Eilish and like heard her song "Bad Guy," right, which was a parody song, which I didn't know, right? So I was
really.
Like, yeah, I'm the bad guy is a parody. It's like it's like I don't remember what the lyrics are, but I'll like I'll like make your boyfriend mad, or I'll like like she's just saying all these things.
Might seduce your dad type.
You might like they're all parodies, right? They're
I'll explain why I know that lyric in a minute. Go on.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No, I'm kidding. But so I was like, who is this person and why is she dressing this and what the hell is going on and why is this feels so negative and why is this person putting negativity into the world? And I was like, and I just didn't get it, right? And then all of a sudden I hear her doing more stuff and I'm just like, oh no, she's fucking awesome. Like I love her. Like I love what she does, and it's like, it's not someone that I don't listen to her regularly necessarily, but like I listen to Dua Lipa pretty regularly and just different stuff. But I love what Billie Eilish does. Like I think she's just awesome. I love her songs. Like I think she's great, and I totally got the wrong impression at first from her. But Dave,
she's absolutely got a brain going on there. She's, you know, like she's not an airhead. She's not a little silly little pop star. She's
and her brother write the songs, and like I do find that a lot of the time she doesn't get credit as a co-writer. Right. Like when I see some of the comments and stuff like that, it's like, well, she's also writing. But anyways,
But anyway, I can remember some of those lyrics because at this point in time, speaking of wonderful covers, there's a guy out there named Anthony Vincent. He does the YouTube channel 10 Second Songs. And he will oftentimes do a song, like he'll do one run through of the song in 20 styles, and he'll keep flipping the style about every 20 seconds or so in the song. And it's absolutely brilliant. But then he eventually would take one style and remake a song in it. He did Bad Guy in the style of Breaking Benjamin. It is a fucking work of genius. It is the best Breaking Benjamin song they had nothing to do with. And the way he plays with the way her lyric and all that stuff in the song is, I cannot recommend it enough. It is absolute he nails the Breaking Benjamin style. If you hate that, obviously you don't want to hear it, but it's an absolute genius work of art on his part.
It's cool. Dave, going back to Scenery Fish, it's funny because I listened to a lot of that when I was working up in I spent 6 weeks up in northern Canada just to working on the album, and I was listening to a lot of Scenery Fish because the sonics on that, again, the drum sounds, I was just like, listen to the drum tones on this thing. It's like Paul Northfield, you know? And ironically, I got to have a conversation with Paul because he wanted to produce the Half Halo record back in the day. So I actually got to talk to the great man himself.
Nice.
Which was it was lovely because he's English, and he was like, he liked the Halo stuff, and we were going to work together. But yeah, like absolutely, man. I Mother Earth, fantastic stuff. And I hadn't listened to it in so long, but my buddy was a big fan. He goes and he put it on, and I was like, oh damn, come on, listen to those tones, especially when I was searching for tones, you know, snare sounds, which is a huge thing on the Trope record. The snare sound's going to be right, you know. I mean, vocal sounds, the snare is the next thing it's going to either piss you off or just draw you in. So yeah, that's really, really cool that you bring that up. Another thing about Billie Eilish I want to add is it's amazing that girl could go out in front of millions on the Grammys, and you know how hard it is to sing in that sort of adagio way with you know that the slightest nerve will break that voice, right? So we would hear this, like the sensitivity for her to create that vibe, to be live to millions of people, and also all your peers, to be able to do that. I'm sorry, but she is fucking amazing. Like, I don't care what anyone says. It's like, you go try to do that. Go out into that audience with that control to create that vibe and not falter for a second with the voice just going, because we'd hear it because it's like a pin drop, you know?
Yeah, it's someone who's so grounded in her art, like in her...
Amazing. And Dua Lipa live. Have you seen the Dua Lipa live at
so good at Royal Albert Hall?
Makes me cry.
Me too, dude. You have to check. It saved me. No, when I was living in that place with the guy who I thought was a psycho killer, like I lived it. No, I seriously, I thought I moved into a place. Yeah, like, well, you know about it. The roommate at the time, who was like a friend through a friend, so I was like, well, this shouldn't be a problem. Anyways, she just started dating someone who I thought was like a psychopath. And I have various examples of why I thought that. It wasn't just random. But yeah, like sometimes what I did was
this is going on the internet, just to let you know.
I don't care. This happened. And it's true. And I didn't say names. Well, maybe I should. No. Anyways, I found Dua Lipa's Royal Albert Hall performances when I was like, oh my God, how do I drown out the fucking craziness that's happening in the other room? So I literally had my headphones on listening to that, and it got me through a thing. Like, because it was so good, and there's so much joy in what she does. Like, and then I indoctrinated Dave with it. I brought it to where you were.
And this is the thing, guys. I like dark shit. I like dark music that makes me moody and vibe. If you bring me joyous music, I get pissed off. I'm like, it's too happy. You're too happy. Why you should be dancing in the daisies. Like when you're sad, play a song, you know? Her whole band is full of joy, and it literally made me cry, because I've never seen something that people with joy. It's not like it's religious, like, you know, people in church going with the joy. It's such honest, and I won't say that, you know, church is not honest. I'm just saying that Albert Hall performance is like, it's absolutely wonderful. The music's really cool. I think she's great, but her band is so part of it, and everything with the music and stuff with the strings, and it's just so cool. It's sexy, but it's joyous.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool.
And she lifts the energy too. Like she leads. I feel like that's a lead by example thing, where she's setting the tone, and like, you know, it's fucking.
And the cinematography in it is phenomenal, guys.
God, the cinematography, dude. The camera is like another paid actor. Like,
close up.
Holy fuck!
And this is one take, and I'm like, "Where's the camera guy? He must have just like jumped
They've
down."
got
And they must have a guy in a
drones flying
headset
inside
going, "Get
the
out of
hall."
there! Get out of the shot!" You know?
Oh my gosh!
Amazing. It's artistry, though. Artistry. That's, you know, artistry. That's what we're talking about. You know.
So I'm not sure what word is best to describe it. Fitting, ironic, I don't know, but it's amusing in my mind right now that as we're talking in the middle of a podcast type thing about a panel discussion about gatekeeping in Prague, and we have moved on to Billie Eilish and Dua Lipa.
I know. The Prog card gets revoked.
Yeah.
We're revoking
Right?
your
Gates, we're not keeping them. We have moved on.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, that's, you know, it's influence. You can make a style of music and listen to something that's a whack ton different.
Just
Indeed.
kidding. I don't like Billie Eilish or Dua Lipa. I don't like it.
But honestly, it also, like, to be honest, I had to listen to Dua Lipa when we were making the record too, because it brought up so much stuff, and I was going through so much turmoil. Like, so many things happened at the exact same time, and I was so sad for so many reasons, and like in physical, like disability pain or whatever, that like I needed something to lift me up and to bring joy, and Dua Lipa helped with that. So, and it's important, I think, to have moments of joy when you're creating. Like, you can't just wallow in shit. It's not. I don't think it's good for the music.
Yeah, there's a couple of joyous moments in Diet, you know, for glorious and that.
Yeah. It's not a wallowing album, but it beckoned me to visit a lot of things that I didn't want to, even though it doesn't wallow in itself. Like, the music can get quite grand and you know, pull you out of things, but it still draws upon themes that are like, challenging to look at times.
So you think of a song like Strawberry Fields, right? That's a prog song.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty progressive. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
The Beatles had elements of that. Are we?
I agree. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Where do you land on that, Paul? Too, because that's a funny thing. It sort of links into another video I did recently, which was kind of reacting to a list that Scott at the Prog Corner had put out, his 10 controversial opinions or whatever.
Oh yeah.
One of which was, you know, two of which were kind of, I think, interesting and do spark some interesting debate. And part of it relates to gatekeeping. One, that King Crimson, in the Court of the Crimson King, is not the first Prog album, as it's often cited. Two, that there wasn't really anything worth listening to prior to Revolver by the Beatles. There's nothing in rock music before that worth listening to.
Oh my God.
And as soon as you bring up the Beatles, the idea, because I know he talked about that, the idea of the Beatles between Revolver and Sgt. Pepper.
Who said this, and where do we find him?
What's that?
Who said this, and where do we find him?
Won't take you long.
He's on the list.
He's on. So I do find that controversial. If you want to know what my opinion is, yes,
go for it.
I do. But well, I do think, the Beatles, for me, are like the ultimate reset. You know, like if, you know, whatever's happening, like if I'm involved in a musical project for a long time, and then I stop and my mind is swimming, like I just listen to the Beatles, right? Because it's like coming back home, and it's just like resetting my musical brain.
Cool.
And I'm not really awesome at knowing the progression of Beatles albums.
That's like,
so I feel like Rubber Soul came out before Revolver. And I could be wrong about that, but anyway.
I think that sounds about right. But then again,
yeah.
I am a Beatles fan adjacent. Catherine is the big Beatles fan in this house.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to talk about progressive. I mean, listen to the first thing they put out, listen to the last thing they put out. And it's like they've been everywhere in between and around the corner in between that. And I mean, they are,
So
and Paul McCartney is like number one rock star to me. I mean, they all had, they all have their place, but I mean, like on stage, money, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, I think Paul McCartney is rock star number one. I mean,
not Ringo.
I think "Come Together" to me feels like quite a progressive song. I don't think it's common. Like, I don't think you just don't hear a lot of songs that sound like it. I don't know. It feels a little bit progressive to me.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Come together.
Yeah.
And
like another future, I think, episode of this came out of what I thought was going to be a fairly brief consultation with my one messenger chat group, the Music Snobs. It's just kind of a random assortment of people that we end up going to concerts together a lot of times. But we'll talk about other things. And I was trying to flesh out for my online radio station, The Expanse, by the way, go check it out. Let me get that plug in.
Nice.
I wanted, one of the categories I felt was underserved is progressive pop.
Yeah.
That's apparently a very, very difficult butterfly to nail down.
I just want to chime in here because I'm on that chat.
Willow Smith. So some of the songs on her kind of jazzy prog album, you might be able to squeeze into like a progressive pop genre.
Sure. Yeah. That's interesting. That would be cool. So I need to chime in here because
Dyad too. I don't want to keep trying. What's that song? Fuck. The song on side B, Dave.
Paul's going to share something with us. Stop.
Sorry,
Go.
I know, but okay.
That's okay.
I'm like, maybe we fit one song into that genre. Yeah,
he's going to forget what he's going to say.
All right.
No, I can't forget what I say because I offered Dave no less than 5 options to add to his progressive pop, and he demolished them all. He gave me reasons why he disqualified. So talk about gatekeeping, right?
Well, it's a very fine line, I guess, or it's a very blurry line between rock and pop. Because I know, I even asked ChatGPT this. Why did I say it that way? ChatGPT that question, and like one of the things that spit out was Bowie. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Let me go look for them. And I'm like, wait, Bowie's more rock, isn't he? Like, is he? I'm like, damn it, I don't know now. It's like,
that's tricky. Yeah, prog pop's a tricky one. I think it would be fucking cool to have like a prog electronic kind of pop act.
Yeah.
There you go.
Divine Astronaut can move in that direction.
Divine Astronaut can do that.
There we go.
Tom Brislin, I think he actually calls himself prog pop. So
does he really?
Check.
All right.
Who's that? Tom Brislin?
Tom Brislin.
I know that name, but who is it?
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, so he, currently he's the music director and keyboardist of Kansas, the touring band Kansas.
Oh, Kansas, yeah.
And he played on the
Wayward Son
symphonic.
Canvas?
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah, and he had some experience with some. He played on the Symphonic Yes tour.
Okay.
And he's got there's a few other things on his resume, but he has a few solo albums, and he kind of talks about being progressive pop.
Cool.
Absolutely.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but Moonhead, you had a thing about like the Beatles, kind of an us. You were talking about it the other day.
No, progressive pop. Yeah, I mean,
about how we get a bit of shit even for like some of the fact that we like melodic stuff and song based, some of the song stuff.
Oh, I love song based stuff. I mean, I started playing music by having 2 books, and that was the Beatles Complete and Led Zeppelin Complete, and that was it.
There you go.
Yeah, to learn the chords, and then if I wanted to get a little bit complex, I'd go to the Led Zeppelin and learn Over the Hills and Far Away, but then go back to Beatles for songs, just sit there and play a cool song and just, to understand what music felt like to play it. Yeah. Because you if you don't have the skills, you can't play a song. And then and then moving into the Led Zeppelin complete, which Led Zeppelin for me is the thing. I mean, from as far as mood, Battle of Evermore, going to California, at least, mandolin, going to Battle of Evermore. Seriously, to this day, is like the moodiest, beautifulest song I've ever heard.
We have defined an issue. We have defined a hole in the industry for prog pop that we have to fix now.
Well, interesting to bring up things you may not know. The earliest prog pop album that was cited in any of my research would be Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. Which is an interesting thought.
Fair enough.
It's valid. Yeah, absolutely.
Well
valid.
before King Crimson, well before 1966, which is when Revolver came out. So,
okay.
Well, we're going to make a famous prog pop band.
There.
I mean, the question really is the tipping point, isn't it?
Yeah.
The tipping point for something like King Crimson, which will never get a radio play of any song, and I can't sit here and hum a song, or a line or a chorus or a verse from King Crimson. When it comes to Bill Bruford, I can go, like the way Bill Bruford plays. But so there's a tipping point for that. And if you think of Beach Boys and how successful they were, or if Kansas Wayward Son, the way that transitions and all that sort of stuff are absolutely progressive. You don't think about it, you go, wow, there's really progressive elements. And then any song that ever came out in 7, or 5, that was a pop song. That
Radiohead did that, I guess.
Yeah.
He brought it back.
What's the tipping point?
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I think for me, if it's a pop song, prog pop, it is along the lines where I think it writes to those hookier, more melodic, more easily accessible sensibilities that you associate with pop. But the complexity is layered in. The added elements are blended in a way that it's not quite so obvious, so that the song remains accessible. So prime examples would be Kate Bush or Tori Amos. Apparently Talk Talk got really prog by the time they were done.
I didn't know I didn't know that Tori Amos or Kate Bush would be considered prog, actually. I thought they would just be considered, not just as if it's they're fucking geniuses, but I thought it would be considered alternative, actually.
Yeah. Kate's actually like prog queen.
Yeah.
She really is held in very high esteem in the prog community. And not just because David Gilmour discovered her.
Yeah, Dave Gilmour discovered it,
But is the music itself, so this is a question, is the music itself prog, though? And
I would tend to say
prog?
yes.
I would tend to agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to prog pop, sorry, Moonhead.
No.
Oh, sorry. Okay. When it comes to prog pop, I'm not sure what the tipping point was. For me, in my mind, it was always Asia, because to me they were the first time that they all that prog elements were put into songs, but the intention was to be a popular band.
Yeah.
And because I don't know. I kind of think Pet Sounds is just like flat out prog. But all the early Peter Gabriel stuff, I think that's very progressive. He kind of got into that prog pop as he went, through his career.
Yeah.
But I don't know that there was ever that intention to say I'm going to become, pop, or I'm going to market myself to the masses. So I feel like that's the delineator, the day they dropped Asia, and then it was like, okay, because I feel like, I'm the very first person to stand in line to defend Power Windows and Hold Your Fire, but I kind of feel like Grace Under Pressure, Power Windows, Hold Your Fire could be considered prog pop.
Interesting thought.
It's funny you say that, because I think Roll the Bones is quite sort of poppy in that sense. I didn't hear a lot of this stuff, but I not being a Big Rush fan, the reason why I'm not really into Rush is because I saw him live, and it was very much for me a 0 to 100. It's like it starts and it stops, and it starts and it stops. Even though, of course, it doesn't. It has dynamics and all that sort of stuff. But it just, to me, I didn't sort of. There was no mood in Rush. There's no mood. It's funny. It's like, I wasn't a fan of Bob Dylan. I liked Rodriguez. Cold Fact. That album. Have you heard that album? Amazing. He's like,
he's a wonderful
it's a
writer.
social commentator. He's basically, if you're talking about Dylan, no, my Dylan was Rodriguez, Sixto Rodriguez, a guy who basically, had super success in South Africa and did one album with Lenny Waronker, and then didn't have success for 40 years. And there's a documentary that won an Academy Award called Searching for Sugar Man.
Oh,
right? They're looking for,
yes.
Yeah.
I've heard of that. Okay.
Yeah.
And we saw him.
Yeah. And
wow.
Amazing. But the songs, incredible, right? So, what was I going to say? Like Supertramp, Prog Pop, come on. Like Logical Sound.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
ELO, how do you feel about ELO, Paul? Is that Prog Pop? What is that?
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I think that could be prog pop. Yeah.
The other things that spit out, Utopia, Todd Rundgren / Utopia, Ambrosia, which apparently did a lot of progressive things earlier on. I think the tendency for a lot of these bands has been they went for the progressive, and maybe that didn't end up getting them where they wanted to go because gates were being kept. So they went a little more pop, and that was an intentional
but still kept
thing.
some elements. Yeah. Well, it sounds like we just haven't had a lot of prog pop in a long time then, because a lot of the bands you guys are mentioning are ones that have been around but aren't newer acts.
It's a fair point.
Yep.
There are ones that, and it's interesting. Someday I almost wouldn't mind having the two guys on at the same time and talk to them together, because one is Jason Beeler, who back in the day was part of,
Saigon Kick.
Thank you, Saigon Kick. And they had at least one big hit before they got lumped in with hair metal bands and jettisoned as the 90s started. And good enough hit that he put his kids through college, according to him. But then later on, and about the same time you guys were coming out, he all of a sudden spits out this like album that, solo album basically. And it's got all these progressive elements on it, and all this stuff, and Bumblefoot guesting on it, and Devin Townsend guesting on it, and all these other things connecting him to it. And he didn't intend it, but all of a sudden he gets embraced by the prog community, and he's like, I don't know how the hell I got to become a prog artist all of a sudden, but cool, I dig it. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you got a guy like Jem Godfrey of Frost, who apparently, this is a new thing that I only fairly recently learned, was like a pop music producer who one day said, you know what? I want to make some prog music. And he puts a band together and basically kicks the door down with one of the top prog albums of the last 20 years.
Which band is that?
Frost. Frost specifically with an asterisk at the end. I don't know what the asterisk means, but Frost. And so like these two guys ended up kind of in the same place by very different means. And it's kind of it's an interesting story and contrast that I like.
Yeah, it's like the progressive community, the rock community, they're embracing. They're like, if they like it, they go, hey, this is cool. They co-sign it and they validate it, and they can give you legs. I mean, all the tours that we did, with Haken and Symphony X, and King's X and Pineapple Thief. The fans are so lovely and wonderful and embracing, of us. And I mean, some of that, the one tour there, we were playing the backing tracks, guitar, vocals with backing tracks. We should have been booed off that stage. And they were so lovely, they're so lovely and just and understanding. And then we went out and played acoustic, and then I think we got our flowers because of that. It was pretty hard to translate all that stuff onto an acoustic guitar and voice for what Diana has to do and for what I had to do. But to the understanding from the fan base, they're lovely. Like you can't beat that for a fan base. So you sort of want to keep them happy a little bit, in the sense of what What do you love? Can we give you something that you love? And not take them into consideration in the sense of, like Rick Rubin says, that don't take them into consideration. You don't have to make something for them specifically, but do know that they're there and they will enjoy something that you spend time on. If you spend the time and you craft something, they're going to go, hey, that's pretty cool, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Which is the cool thing, because right there, when you think about all those diverse bands you opened for, like those are very, very, very different styles. I don't know if they're necessarily very different fan bases, but to a degree, I think they kind of are. And different time frames as far as when they came out and when they originated and all that.
Yeah.
And the fact that, I don't know, all of a sudden all the gatekeeping went out the door and people just simply embraced you guys as part of that experience on that particular night, which I thought was kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, and how lovely of them to do that. I mean, I really felt that too. It's just like I mean, obviously you're going to get people who are just going to not be interested in whatever, but I mean, I would love to have a conversation if someone sort of said, I don't like what you do because of this and blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's interesting, you know? Because it comes from a different place.
Yeah, let me see what I can do to arrange that, get you connected with somebody if I can find them that doesn't like you, and I'll let you talk with them for an hour and a half. Hey. All right. Well, I hate to say it, it appears we lost Diana. She dropped off suddenly, so she probably had a technical difficulty, I'm sure, of some sort, and with any luck, she'll pop back in.
Is it was it 2 hours? We've been on this thing for 2 hours, and now it's 2 hours and 1 minute 30 seconds. Did it cut off for her? 2 hours?
Nah, it shouldn't. But sometimes you learn new things about the software and the technology as you go along. You learn as you experience. So why not?
Yes, sir.
But it seems like a cool point. So I don't know, either of you guys have any final thoughts on the idea of gatekeeping within the prog community? Anything you want to share, insights you've learned through tonight?
I'm all for it. No.
I think you started there, didn't you?
Yeah, I started there. I'm still there.
All right,
I love the people who are passionate about things and that they, again, my serious point about that is that, gatekeeping with power that suppresses other things can be dangerous. And I think if everyone is opinionated and they want to, everyone wants to be in a corner and say, yeah, this is what it is and this is what it is. It's like, cool, man, you're crazy. Just keep doing what you do. The problem is if there's positions of power that stop, the exposure of certain music to people, it's going to be like, and I suppose that's what record labels can do. They sort of, channel a niche and a genre to people. So we're not being exposed. If you think about it, back in the day, what the Grammys were, come on, Sting, Stevie Wonder, everyone a part of it. And now it's just a fashion show with whatever.
My computer crashed, so.
No. Oh dear.
There's a bit of an echo.
All right.
Yeah, is there an echo?
Yeah, we're getting an echo.
Is there?
I have my headphones on.
There is an echo now. At least for me.
Yeah, me too.
It's weird.
Oh no, it's gone.
Very weird.
Yeah, it's gone now.
That's gone now.
Yeah.
Oh, you muted me.
There we go.
Now that I'm not muted, is the echo back?
Nope, you're good, I think.
Oh,
no.
Yeah, it's there.
I'll just mute myself before you.
Damn technology. Anyway, we were just about to wrap up, Diana, while you were gone, and we were just asking for final thoughts on the concept of gatekeeping and the impacts and all that.
What was Moonhead's final thoughts?
He's for it.
All right. Yeah, me too.
My. How do I do this? You gotta mute it. Okay. So my thoughts were basically it was just basically it's fine if everyone wants to have an independent, passionate response to what they love and what they hate. It's great. Only if that person, or when someone is in a position of power, to suppress other things and not expose other things. But luckily, with progressive rock, there's not really one radio station that plays it. That's there's no real.
There isn't enough.
It seems like it's very democratic, but it's ubiquitous in the sense of it's all over. You got to go searching for, people who talk about it, like Dave or other people and stuff like that. It's not Triple M FM in Sydney or Edge 105 in Toronto. That's the rock station, or like it was, K Rock in LA, which was like if you didn't listen to that, if you weren't on K Rock, you didn't exist as a rock band. So I like the fact that there's no rule. Is there a gatekeeper now? Because it's such a great genre, is there going to be some sort of gatekeeping, from a level, I don't know, but we don't want that. I mean, obviously, we just want to stay opinionated and grumpy, like Paul said,
One thing that I did notice that I didn't mention because I just thought of now is when I was looking at the prog labels, prog specific labels of the prog acts, let's say some of which we've toured with or bands that we know, there's almost no women-fronted bands on any of those rosters. So that is something that I did actually notice that's like stark, like very blatant. Like you cannot even pretend. Like on one of the rosters, I think I saw 2 acts out of maybe 50 with women in them. One of them, the guitarist, was a woman, and the other one was an act out of Japan that when I researched them weren't even prog, but on this prog label. So like you said, Moonhead, about the gatekeeping, it's like it's cool to do it from the standpoint of having an opinion and being passionate about, as like someone who's taking the content or listening to it. But yeah, when you're in a position where you're helping expose the music to people, like you got to open your mind a bit and use some more brain cells than,
What a marginalized and impacts.
What?
Sorry, I'm just trying to read it. Here we go. It marginalizes and impacts you as a woman and other women who are doing it. So therefore, it is a problem. If it becomes a problem that is visible or impacts you as a thing. So I'm not thinking about it for me as because it doesn't impact.
It does as being someone in a band with a woman singer. So it potentially does impact what All and Sundry are doing, but more so
we can change that.
Yeah, we are going to fucking change that.
No, I can find a new singer.
Well, you go try to find someone who put up with your shit.
No one can do what you do. No one's as passionate and as committed to this thing as you. You are absolutely crazy, and I love it. You're an amazing musical partner. Yeah.
Well, that's also nice.
Alrighty. Paul, what are your final thoughts?
Well, I agree. I think we should be happy with our opinions and we should share them freely, but constructively. And I think we've talked a lot about that here. And more than anything else, we need to share what we love. It doesn't have to be prog because it will inform us on other prog that we see. So like the fact that I've got more than I can listen to tonight out of talking with you all for the last couple of hours is fantastic. And I think I think we need more of that in the prog community.
Yeah. Sharing different things.
Yeah, agreed.
Yes.
Very much. Well, on that note, then, I have nothing more to add. I agree wholeheartedly with all of you. So we'll go with that.
I have something to add. I wanted to thank you guys for having us. This has been awesome. And thank you, Dave, for your support on the album and like the amazing review and also helping us make it as well with your contribution. So yeah, we appreciate, being roped into your prog sphere and like the way you expose the genre to people.
Yeah, I mean that's a validation. That's what it is. I mean, when Dave's interviewing all these other relevant acts and we get to be a part of that, that just validates us. So it's awesome, Dave. Thank you.
Yeah. You guys as well are relevant. Glad to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad you were able to do this, especially on kind of short notice when I just kind of like, hey, what are you doing Wednesday? So that's awesome. And it's been great to talk with you guys. It's been a fun time. I knew it would be. All right. That is all that we have to say on the topic of gatekeeping in the progressive rock community. Where do you fall? Are you the gatekeeping type who likes to keep the playground small and restrictive? Or are you more the type, the hippie type that likes to invite everybody in and give them a big hug and let everybody be part of the group? Either way, it's all good. Tell us what you think in the comments. Tell us what you think about keeping this episode together as one very long chunk as opposed to two smaller chunks like we did with episode 1. We are evolving this as we go along a little bit. So I'm curious what you think of the format. Bigger, too smaller, it's all good. Let us know what you think. While you're down there putting in comments, take a moment, like the video if you don't mind. And hey, think about subscribing to the channel so you can follow along with all the other stuff coming along with Bleeding Edge later this year, including our next episode. Episode 3 of the Prog Council will be dropping in the first week of April. And we got a pretty cool guest musician lined up for that as well. You definitely want to check it out. Meanwhile, big thanks to Diana and Moonhead of Trope for stopping by, spending the evening chatting with us. As always, guys, it's a great time seeing you. I had a blast talking about all this stuff. Very good time. And of course, a big thanks to Paul Zotter of the Progressive Palaver podcast. Paul, always great to see you, my friend. Hey, folks, if you haven't checked out the Progressive Palaver podcast, go find it wherever you get your podcasts. I think you'll enjoy it. It is Paul and his pals talking about every prog album ever made, pretty much. So it's a good time. They are a lot of fun to listen to. Meanwhile, stick around for all the other fun stuff we've got coming up here on Bleeding Edge. If you have a moment, hey, maybe you want to even check out the shop and you could get yourself a nice Bleeding Edge t-shirt, just like this. I'm very pretty in this, am I not? I'm very pretty regardless. I don't know. At this point, I'm starting to babble, and what that means is this episode is over, and that leaves me with nothing but to tell you to hang loose, never fear to deviate from the norm, and as always, keep it prog.